Welcome to the Ask the Herbalist podcast with Lily Cunning. That's me, your host. Ask the Herbalist is brought to you by Haven Herbs, which is available to anyone, anywhere at havenherbs.com. So, hello everybody. Hello friends. This is Lily Cunning, your host. And today we're going to be talking about connection, right? So the first thing we're going to talk about is herbal community. We had a question from someone who's a customer of Haven Herbs, and they wondered where they could find like-minded individuals near them. Now, Haven started out as a small thing in Ohio, moved to West Virginia, moved back to Ohio, but we serve people nationally. And um, these folks were not in our area. And so they were wondering, how do I connect with people that are into plants, into, herbalism as a healing modality, into wellness, and maybe get some community going on? Well, there are definitely some places to start where you are. And I can give you a list of resources that I know of, and obviously you can take the ball and run with it and look in your area. Um, so the first thing is that there are long established holidays and clubs that meet, and they may or may not be your cup of tea, right? Like as many different groups there are different types of herbalists. They focus on different things, different demographics. So, I'm going to throw out a bunch of different things out there, and you can check them out in your area and see if they suit you. So, the first old school, long running organization is the Herb Society of America. Now, they have been around for a long time. They have a newsletter that they send out. They meet in some places, they have local chapters all around the country. In some places, they meet every month. In some places, they meet once a quarter. In some places, they just put on like an annual or biannual event, like a festival. So, depending on how active your chapter is, you may be finding people to hang out with every month. Now, they definitely have some parameters that they work within. I remember when they asked me to speak at one of their Central Ohio meetings educationally, they definitely told me that I had to stick to talking about herbs as supplementation, not as medicine. Um, they're very mindful of what the legal parameters are around herbalism. And so the information that they publish is also like that. Um, that said, they're fantastic. The chapter that I spoke at had their own special garden in a local park that they cultivated and maintained for the benefit of the public to learn about medicinal herbs. I loved it, right? So, Herb Society of America has been around forever. Um, Likewise, there is a holiday in early May called Herb Day. And you might want to go to the national website and see when your Herb Day is and if it's near you, right? Because every state has an Herb Day. Just depends on where you are in the state if you have one near you. And it's always worth traveling because usually the Herb Day that was near me when I lived in Columbus was put on by Gahanna, Ohio. And Gahanna actually has a government run by the Parks Department herb center. And they put on classes and they have a garden and they put on Herb Day every year. Um, Now, Herb Day can be really fun because they put on an entire day's worth of programming in Gahanna, for example. And your locale and organizers may vary, but if you join them, right? If you want a big ambitious event in your area, join in, right? Like it the work is done by the people who show up. So, Herb Day is a really fantastic way of getting involved and meeting like minded individuals like yourself. That said, there are also herb conferences and gatherings that you can join, and they happen all over the country, and they're usually like camping. Um, and some of them are really expensive, some of them are not so expensive. The ones that tend to be a little spendier often will have work study that you can do, like for volunteering to cook meals for everybody, you could get a discount, et cetera, et cetera. Excuse me. Um, so I highly recommend looking for herb gatherings in your area. Now, if you're wondering, that sounds great, but where do I find all these things? I would say Herb Rally. Herb Rally is a website that is dedicated to promoting herbalism throughout the United States. And they have event listings for one off classes, for gatherings, for events, and hopefully there are many near you. You can look by state, you can look by date if you're willing to travel to go meet some folks. But Herb Rally is a fantastic way of learning what's around you. Because there are a lot of herbalists out there, but sometimes we are a little insular. So as someone who's new to the community and looking to build connection, you may not have met any of us yet. So hopefully you check out Herb Rally. Excuse me. And I have allergies with phlegm so much. It's spring right now here in Ohio. And I tell you, nothing knocks me out more than pollen in Ohio in the spring. Um, so I will be clearing my throat several times. So yeah, Herb Rally. Now, all these resources that I am listing, I'm going to go ahead and put in the description. It'll be in the audio podcast description. It'll also be in the YouTube video description. I want to make sure that you have access to all the links that I'm talking about. So um, there's that. I would also check out your local library. Libraries do so much more than lend books. They have events, they have gatherings, people use their space. There's so much, and so your local library may have some offerings. I know I've taught at many a local library herb classes. Once the librarians found out I was in the area, they totally asked me to come and teach a class or two or three. So definitely check out your local library. And if they don't have anything right now, tell them that's what you want, because they will go looking for you. And there is uh librarians are especially gifted at finding things. So definitely use your local library. But I hope that that gets you started on your journey to finding meat space community. You can also always look online. um, I am active on Reddit, and Haven has a podcast subreddit called Ask the Herbalist. Wait, Ask the Herbalist. So if you're on Reddit, you can join our subreddit, Ask the Herbalist. And there are some other herbalism subreddits. Now, I'm going to tell you, there's a lot of herbal community online. Vet your communities the way that you would vet a teacher um, or any other connection, because again, in the United States, anyone can call themselves an herbalist. There is no specific legal criteria. So you're just going to want to make sure that the information that you're getting is vetted and it's not just Googled, because there's a lot of bad information on the internet, and I don't want you to fall prey to it as you start your herbalism journey. So yeah, different subreddits are great. If you Google herbalism community, you may find quite a bit more. Um, and of course, you can join an online course and interact with the students there if you don't have anything near you in meat space. But again, I wish you luck on your journey in finding herbalism community. And if you ever have any more questions, you can always reach out to me, Lily at havenherbs.com. We've come to the intermission where we talk about Haven Herbs. Haven Herbs is my apothecary. We are small batched, we have a dedication to education, and the next time you are in the market for an herbal remedy, tonic, or body care, please check us out at havenherbs.com. I wanted to talk a little bit about our newest product offering, which we're calling Kits. It combines wellness with wisdom, education with products. When you buy the kit, you will get a link to either an ebook or a video explaining all about that month's topic, that kit's topic. For example, we're now in the summer of our seasonal herbalism kit, and that is Fun in the Sun. And so the kit describes all kinds of ways to stay well while you live outdoors and not get sunburned and deal with poison ivy, etc., etc. So check out our kits the next time you're on the website. Again, that website is havenherbs.com. See you soon. Hey, welcome back to the second part of our podcast. This question was asked on our Ask the Herbalist subreddit. The user said they're seeking herbal education. And they said, I'm really trying to turn my interests into a career. I'm in the New England area, but have struggled to find any certificate programs or anything formal that includes in person or hands on classes. Everything seems to be online. Does anyone have any suggestions willing to locate for a solid program? And so here's what I answered on the subreddit, and I'm going to expand on it here for the podcast. Howdy, thanks for your question. Finding a good in-person class can be challenging. Which part of the world are you in? You said New England. And so for US recommendations, I suggest two places to look. So the American Herbalists Guild has a page of good classes if your focus is clinical herbalism. So you said turning it into a career. I don't know what that means. There are so many different ways to be an herbalist for a living. So if you're talking about treating people, and I say treat in the usage method, not the formal, oh my gosh, you know, don't say medicine, don't say treat, don't say cure part of herbalism, right? If you're looking to have clients that you help with their wellness and offer custom supplementation, the American Herbalist Guild is definitely where I'd start. And I will post a link to their directory in the comments, in the description of this podcast, whether it's audio or video on YouTube. Um, so, again, they focus on building amazing clinicians, and that is huge, right? Um, you really want to have a good hands-on in-person program with a mentor guiding you if you want to be a clinician. I do not recommend online classes to become a clinician. Now, that said, there are plenty of great online courses if you are interested in treating friends and family, building a home apothecary, et cetera, et cetera. I teach some of those classes. And I used to teach a class where I taught the next generation of clinicians. I did that for about 5 years, 5 different classes. Um, so I understand how hard it can be. I started those classes because there was no clinician teacher in my area and people were asking, so I started it. Um, but I would look at the American Herbalist Guild for sure. I do know that in Maryland, there's a master's program. If you have an undergrad degree already, there is a master's program in herbalism that you might want to check out, and I will look it up. I had a friend who went to it and raved about it. I will look it up and put it in the description as well. But yeah, there are programs. Also, if you're willing to relocate, Bastyr in the Pacific Northwest, phenomenal program. So there are some resources for that. You can also check out listings for schools over at Herb Rally. So Herb Rally, the events page includes schools state by state when they are starting their programs, right? So I will put a link to the Herb Rally schools in the description. But yeah, hopefully that can get you started on your education program. Now, I'm going to put a caveat emptor here. So, as with anything related to herbalism, there aren't a lot of legal guidelines, right? Um, and so we as a community rely on things like the Guild and word of mouth to spread the news of fantastic programs and not so fantastic programs. So, what I would say to you is ask the school if a past student, can reach out to you and tell you about their experience, right? It may be a fantastic program, but it may not be the program for you, right? So it really depends. Now, the program that I went to back in the day was in California, in Berkeley, and it was team taught, which I am so grateful for, right? When I taught classes, it was just me because there was no one else around to help me teach my students. And so what I relied upon was taking my students on field trips to meet other herbalists in different parts of Ohio and different parts of the country so that they could get a different experience. And we also had people Zoom in to talk about herbalism in their lives as a teacher and as a clinician. So, I was really lucky. I had a team taught program, someone who really loved medicine making, someone who really loved clinical work, someone who really loved the cultivation part of it. There's so many different ways to have herbalism in your life. And this original poster did not mention whether they were talking clinical work or something else. If you're talking about cultivating herbs to sell to national distributors like Mountain Rose Herbs, I highly recommend the Organic Herb Farmer. Um, and that is a book written by someone who cultivates only medicinal herbs and sells only to these distributors as their main way of income. Um, you can also write. I know many herbalists who write articles for magazines, write books, do book tours after they get their training and experience, right? Um, you can also teach classes once you've gotten some education and experience under your belt. I have been moving all of my classes online uh, since the pandemic, right? Like the pandemic kind of made everything go online, which is probably what you're experiencing. Is that a lot of programs just never returned back to in person after going online. And I moved things online because I have a business, Haven Herbs, that needs my attention more often than not. And it's hard for me to teach these in person classes anymore, even if they're only once a month, because there's a ton of prep work. If you are a very conscientious teacher, you're doing hands on things, so you need to gather materials, you need to build curriculum. There's a lot that goes into an in person class. So once you find your class, make sure that you show some love to those instructors because I guarantee you they're not making a ton of money for the amount of work that goes into it. I think I was making less than minimum wage for all the time that I put in for the classes. But we do it so that we can perpetuate herbalism as a method of healing, to teach the next generation of herbalists, and to make sure that this knowledge is not lost. Because for a while in this country, the knowledge was lost. Pre 1970s, Rosemary Gladstar sort of resurrected herbalism in the consciousness of a subset of Americans, right? But before that, we were kind of lost. There were granny doctors and things like that, but it was not mainstream anymore. Went from very mainstream in every recipe book that every housewife had to make food and medicine, to disappearing completely, to being resurrected in the 1970s. So It can be challenging to find what you need, but I hope that the two resources that I provided to you will help you find a good program. Good luck to you, and we'll see you for the next episode of Ask the Herbalist. All right, we've come to the end of the podcast, and of course, now we need the necessary disclaimers. If you get 10 herbalists in a room, you're going to get 10 different opinions on something. We are a cantankerous lot, so your mileage may vary. The opinions that are expressed here on the podcast are the opinions of the herbalists appearing, including your host, Lily Cunning, and our sponsor, Haven Herbs. Also, some necessary legalese. Lily and Haven and anyone else appearing on this podcast are not your licensed medical provider and therefore can't legally offer advice or products to diagnose, treat, or cure any illness. The content on the podcast is not intended to substitute for advice given by a physician, a pharmacist, or any other licensed healthcare professional. You shouldn't use this information as self-diagnosis or treating a health problem or disease. Information and statements on the podcast regarding dietary supplements have not been evaluated by Health Canada nor the FDA of the United States and are not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease or health condition. And of course, see a practitioner of your choosing if your condition persists or worsens. Got it? Great.